In a world of seemingly endless podcasts comes what many would call another one. Welcome to the Two Men podcast with your hosts Tim Matson and Phil Powell. Now please join these two confirmed men, that's two moderately entertaining nerds, as they take you on another podcast adventure that's guaranteed to be funny. Or not. This week the two men talk about their production of Baskerville.
Welcome, everybody.
Yay.
It's another episode of the Two Men podcast.
Not three.
Not three, not one, but two.
You can tell we're different voices.
Indeed. I'm the one voice whose name is Tim.
I am the other one who is sometimes goes by Cthulhu. I couldn't quite say it.
That's terrible.
Is it, if you mispronounce Cthulhu, is that like a curse of some kind?
Yeah, he shows up and comes out of your bathtub drain and pulls you down through it.
Oh, thank God. Finally. I assume when I'm on the toilet.
Oh, that would be even worse. Yeah.
So I'm unsuspecting. I get an unsuspecting Cthulhu visit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Well, this week we're going to talk about some fun thing that Phil and I managed to do in our time off.
A play.
We did a play.
A theatrical thing.
Yeah.
Actors yakking.
Uh-huh. Yep. Sometimes. Me, most of the time.
Baskerville. We're going to talk about the play that we recently-ish did in Winston-Salem for the, what I like to call LTWS, Little Theater Winston-Salem. They don't know it yet, but that's what I call them. And
LTWS. That seems like longer than actually saying the words outright.
It's cooler if you do that acronym thing.
Okay. If you say so.
Yeah, it is. It's cooler.
Okay.
It's way cooler in conversation.
You are the barometer of what I think is cool.
It is. Well, you want to talk to me about acronyms and cool. Well, listen, CRISPR-Cas9 and NASA, nobody calls it the full name of, what is NASA's full name?
NASA? National Aeronautic and Space Administration?
It's a good guess.
So you don't even know. I could have said anything.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tactic. Haven't you realized that that's a tactic I use all the time?
Yeah.
Where I ask you a question that I don't know the answer to, and if you fail, then I blame you, and if you come back with something, then I just go, I don't know. See, it is a great tactic. Feel free to use it.
That's good. But getting back to the topic at hand, we did a production of Ken Ludwig's Baskerville, which, if you don't know what it is a condensation of the original Sherlock Holmes mystery, The Hound of the Baskervilles.
Condensation, is that like wet?
It was very wet because
Yes,
it was hot on stage.
Yes.
I was extremely moist, a word that Drew doesn't like.
Yes. I got to tell you, this is a show, mystery, put in the form of a comedy. The basic gimmick of this show is that three actors change clothes and become all of the other bazillion characters that inhabit this story.
I played Dr. Watson, and our friend Matt, who recently from the UK, played Sherlock Holmes.
I thought you were going to say recently passed.
Recently passed. God rest his soul.
Recently
Matt
passed.
Linneman. He's no longer with us.
Yeah. And the other three characters, Renee Wallach played everybody else, the lady characters.
Everybody else.
Lady characters.
And men characters.
Chad Edwards.
Chad Edwards.
And Drew Billings. And they played all these other characters. Let's talk about the very beginning, auditioning. So what'd you think about auditioning? And
this was different because I've never done a show over in Winston-Salem. This was my first show over there. So it was always, you have to get used to the way auditions run, and I don't know, it ran pretty smoothly.
Did you think the show landed based upon when you left either night, did you think the show landed where you thought it was going to land?
Oh, as far as casting goes?
Yeah.
I was absolutely 100% sure that Matt and I were going to be Holmes and Watson. From the minute that he sat down at the table and I introduced myself to him and found out that he'd been in the States for 3 days whenever he came to audition, and we just kind of struck up a friendship, and I knew right away, even without reading on the stage with him, I'm like, we're going to be Holmes and Watson.
Interesting. I would say that was not a foregone conclusion.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
No. I mean, in fact,
Did you ever seriously consider me for Sherlock Holmes?
No, not really.
I didn't think so. No.
I didn't think a little bit. I'd say like 5%.
I would be your emergency Sherlock Holmes, wouldn't I?
Yes.
If you'd gotten nobody.
I think
okay.
I would have.
That's good to know.
I think I would have cast me before I would have cast you as Sherlock Holmes. But
in many ways, I'm glad that you didn't. I thought I wanted to be Sherlock Holmes, but I'm glad that I wasn't.
No, you were much better suited for Watson. So
No, I agree.
I made a couple of. I always like options going into callback. I always like 2 solid options for every character.
Did you have those?
I gotta be honest. I do not. I mean, this is a little bit revealing. I did not have another solid Holmes option.
Okay.
I mean, going into auditions, I was 99% certain that Matt was going to be Holmes. 99%. So I made a phone call, and there's actually 2 individuals that I reached out to because I wanted to have another option.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think it's wise not to have 2 options, even though Matt was great. I wanted to have another great option, because you never know how people are going to marry up, and you also don't know schedule, that kind of stuff. So I made and it turns out none of those folks could do it. So he was a good, solid choice, but effectively going into auditions, he was my only choice.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
So
fair enough.
But I felt as though I had at least a reasonable choice for all of the other roles, mostly.
Okay. Interesting.
It was
I can see that. I too like to have, when I'm casting something, I like to have options available to me. You're not always blessed with having a lot of options, unfortunately.
So, and I'm going to be really totally transparent. I did not read the play as fully as I should have.
No, I think that I don't think that's a revelation to any of the cast. I think that you clearly underestimated this show.
Well,
I think we all did.
Yes.
To be fair.
Well, and to be honest with you, I can remember, it's very funny. I will share a moment, and I hope Mary Leah doesn't mind this.
Oh, boy.
I can remember I'd read the play several times, but it wasn't until I read the play until I think it was around my 8th reading. And when I finally understood the play extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that moment when I realized how difficult the show was going to be and what it was asking of us.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point at which I had my panic attack, and that's not, that's not
poorly disguised panic attack.
Well, I had it at home.
I know, but you had a certain amount of
frustration,
deer in the headlights for a couple rehearsals.
Yes,
there were a couple rehearsals where, to be perfectly honest, I mean, it was clear that you were in trouble with this play a little bit.
Yeah, and I'll totally own that, because it was a struggle. You'd lay things out, and then one little thing that you missed in the script sent you in another direction, and then you're hosed.
To be fair, I mean, I think we both know the exact moment that was when you realized, and as did we all, that the dead body was an extra person.
Right.
Or a prop. Because I don't think any of us really put that together. I think that was a moment of true discovery for everyone in the room that, this is a moment that just doesn't work.
Right.
There's a problem here that none of us identified ahead of time.
Well, and I should have caught that as a director, but that was
hidden pretty well.
Yeah.
It's easily glossed over. It's not something that really stands out.
What I had to do is get past it and kind of own it and figure out a path through. What I want to say is, people like when they talk about the direction of this show, the direction of this show was not so much about making, all these wonderful artistic choices. It was about limitations that the text put on me, where I was, in essence, forced to make an area be multiple areas.
Mm-hmm.
I was forced to have to try and figure out a way to get people on and off stage into certain locations so that they could make costume changes, and to make the same environment appear as though it was the same place over and over and over again.
Well, to let the audience know who is not familiar with it, this is a play where when he says costume changes, he means costume changes that happen almost instantaneously so that one actor can go off stage as one character and come back on stage moments later as an entirely different character in an entirely different wardrobe.
Right. So I was talking to Mary Leah, this was during Tech Week, and she'd come in later into the process, and I think in fairness, she'd read the play, but she hadn't read it in detail, and I think once she came to the same moment of realization, okay, that I had, where this was like, oh, Lord, this is a lot of work. I mean, like, I don't, and I don't know if we can do it, which is my reaction to the show, which is I didn't know that we could fulfill the needs of the show. You know, she kind of had to, I said go off, go home, work. That'll relieve the stress, you know, of all this. And she did. And, you know, she did a wonderful job. Wigs were great. Mary Leah was great.
They were pretty impressive.
Yeah. Baskerville was a good show for me in the sense that I think most directors would have just thrown up their hands. But I was going to at least try. And and sometimes we succeeded. I think there are moments in the show that are just extremely artful and great. And I think there are other moments of the show that are okay. I don't think there was anything that stunk out loud.
No, I definitely think that everything was at the very least passable.
Right.
There are some things, I agree with you, that I think was really quite good. And there are some things that are fairly weak.
Right.
And I think you have to be, if you're really going to be honest with yourself, you really have to look at your production with clear eyes and be willing to admit where your shortcomings are.
Right. And, you know, now as a director, I always have excuses, but that doesn't mean that it's
That's
not
right.
true.
You got to put together your story to cover your ass.
So what was your journey like during this show?
Well, whenever we auditioned, you asked me to come and read for this, and I wasn't familiar with it, so you sent me the play. And I read it a couple times before I made my decision whether I was going to or not. Because Winston-Salem, for those who don't know, it's about a half hour from where I live.
Yeah.
So I would have to commute a half hour every day to do this show. And this show had to be interesting enough to get me to commit to that because I'm basically a hermit. So you wanted me to read for ended up being Chad's part.
I want you to read for Watson and Chad's part. Yeah.
Right. And I basically told you that I would not do Chad's part.
Yeah.
That I would do Watson, but I did not want to do Actor 1, which was basically a lot of different parts, would have required a lot of fast changes.
It would have created stress in your life to the degree to which you
I would not have wanted that. But as it turned out, Watson was a lovely part. I had a great time playing Watson because I love doing an English dialect. Mm-hmm. I'm very fond of it, and I think mine is quite good. Yes. Because I've worked on it for a long time. And I got the chance to play Watson to a Holmes who was English. He's from London. Mm-hmm. And so I got to put my English accent up against someone who that's their natural speaking voice. And to me, that was a real challenge to make a choice of what type of dialect I wanted to do, a very posh kind of dialect, and maintain that throughout against someone whose natural speaking voice is that. That was a challenge, and I think that was good for me as an actor, and I loved doing it. And really, I loved doing the whole show. I thought it was a lot of fun. I never really regretted auditioning, ever. Even at the moments where it looked kind of iffy as to whether or not we were going to have a hound or what kind of hound we were going to have, or
that's when I put
how we were going to do the guns, or how we were going to fall down stage. There were a lot of things that we didn't know how we were going to do them. But even throughout all of that, I never regretted auditioning at all. I thought it was a great time, and I thought the people that you cast were great fun to work with. And I have not, this is going to sound like I'm just gushing all over everything, but honestly, I haven't had this great a time on stage with the whole experience, backstage, front of house, the producers, everybody was just fantastic to work with.
Right. Well, here's what's really strange to me is I got to say that the response to the show, in a weird way, shocked me. Which was the response to the show was positive.
The fact that we sold out?
Yeah, the entire run. Yeah, that I got to be honest, I was a little shocked. I didn't, and
I've never sold out an entire run of a show before.
No. And the first weekend, I think you could chalk it up to Sherlock Holmes' interest. But the second weekend, you cannot. That had to do something with the run, which is kind of bizarre to me because I've always been in the opposite side of that equation, which is I've done work on a show. I'm extremely proud of it, usually, or ish. That's not always true. But I've done work on a show, and I'm like, and the audience's reaction sometimes from an attendance standpoint or reaction standpoint are not as positive as I want.
Yeah.
And this was kind of like I struggled through this show, and I really struggled with this show, and that's saying I do not tend to struggle with shows. And I got to be honest with you, when we were getting near opening night, I was like, thank God this monkey is going to be off my back. We're in a decent place, and I'm not going to go so far as to say that I don't care if people come. I did,
yes,
but I had reached the point at which I was tired of having to fret over everything. And
it was a bit like giving birth, wasn't it? I mean, you were ready to have that baby out.
That's right. Works great, doesn't work, I don't know. Here it is.
Here it is for what it's worth. I mean, this baby may be jaundiced, but it's out there.
I understand that clears up after a couple of days.
Yeah, it does. And with a lot of shows, it does clear up after a couple of days, too.
I've never seen an opening night review, though, that said the play's a little jaundiced.
Yeah, no,
the liver's not working right yet.
It's not quite functional. Oh my God.
I enjoyed it though, and yeah, there were a lot of unknowns, and I thought you guys did a good job though, Elizabeth. All the technical people. Oh my gosh,
well,
just amazing.
That's that was amazing to see them get on and off. I'm a bit like the audience. I'm a bit awed by. Were
you while you were acting? Did you deliberately turn sideways sometimes so you could see the changes?
No, I never looked off stage at all, ever.
Because you were blinded by the lights.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, you put. God, I will fess up to being blinded a couple times because I happened to look right when a light turned on. Rarely do you have lights that are directly from the sides, and that was a little disorienting at first because if you turned at the wrong moment, you were blinded for a few lines.
Yes.
But no, I don't, not to get all methody or anything like that, I don't like to look at the mechanics of the theatrical production when I'm doing a part.
Right.
I like to try to keep it within the imaginary four walls of the stage, with the exception of like a role like Watson, in which I did look out over the audience a number of times.
Right.
So that I just had to include that as part of my awareness. But as far as the backstage stuff, no, I don't look at that.
Everybody, it came together. I don't know how much the audiences followed the plot, meaning like I'd be curious if we did a poll at the end.
Could they tell us the story of what they just watched?
Yeah, I'm not so certain they could, but
I don't think it really matters.
No.
Not really.
I think the poll of the show is the comedy is not strong enough to last too long without having some drama, which is why I knew the show couldn't get too campy. I mean, we got campy certainly on several occasions.
We definitely did backstage.
Oh, that's none of my beeswax.
You don't know what we did backstage before the show started every night, did you?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah. There was the music you chose was very.
I didn't choose the pre-show music. The pre-show music.
Yeah.
That was John Shea's choice.
No. But you chose the Sherlock theme.
Yes, I did. Not that we're committing. No, Tim. It was something.
Some music similar to yeah.
Sherlock.
It wasn't the actual thing. It was similar.
It was similar to.
Right, but it has a definite beat to it. The
yes.
music that you chose had a definite beat.
Yes.
So backstage, we were bouncing up and down in beat to the music. Every single person, including the dressers, the cast, everybody.
Oh, well, that's great.
Every night.
That's great.
Every
So
night.
little
It
bonding.
was our thing, yeah.
That's cool.
That and Matt and I, this is not meant to be mean to Drew, but we also loved the way Drew said Bach every night.
Bach. Well, you talk about horror stories.
Because it sounded a bit like a wolf would say it.
When Drew came out, and the very first night, this was like Thursday, I think it was. Drew is the actor who comes out and opens the show.
Yes, he does.
He comes out and opens
and
the
gets
show.
immediately killed by a dog.
That's right. An invisible imaginary dog.
Yeah.
So, the first night he comes out, smokes his cigar, has a pocket watch, and he's sitting there for, I don't know, what seemed to be like 20 seconds, not saying anything. And here's the thing, as a director, usually if an actor doesn't make their entrance, you're worried, oh, they're distracted or whatever, or they're zoned out. But Drew actually made his entrance. He's first. I mean, you can't miss. I mean, you shouldn't miss the first entrance of the show. You should be ready for that.
Yeah.
And but he apparently forgot that he had lines. Because I'm like, well,
we all.
Anyway, he eventually got over that and said his lines.
That's
but
funny.
I'll be back in a moment, Barrymore. Or something.
It was pretty great. Drew, I gotta say, man, Drew is the sweetest person in the world.
Right.
In the backstage, he was so nice. I've never met anybody so nice.
And he was a great Sir Henry.
He was a great Sir Henry. I have to say that made my job as Watson very easy because he played a Sir Henry that Watson would definitely pal around with. Mm-hmm. He would definitely be buddies with.
You know, one part of the show that surprised me is I did not think that the audiences, and as a director, I hated blocking it, but I did not think the audiences would like the dumb show. This is the thing where the actors change his clothes really quick and come on. But they loved the dumb show. Yeah. Every night, they really liked that whole bit. And it came to be one of my favorite parts of the show.
Really? That's interesting.
I would, when I was there, I would watch that. There are other times when I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna go away. But
I don't know what my favorite part of the show would be. It's really tough because as Watson, the way the show is structured, Watson is basically, I don't know, like the spine of the show. Everything happens around him. He's the observer of everything, and so I never left the stage except for very, very brief two very, very brief moments. Other than that, for the entire show, I was on stage. And as such, I don't know that I have a favorite moment because I feel like all moments were something that I was in.
Right.
Let's talk about something on my mind that I think is a real problem that you need to address next time that we do a show together.
Your lack of snacks?
No. You cast one girl in the show, and she's married.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to need you to cast single women from now on.
All right. I will.
Because as lovely as Renee is, she is a married woman.
That's right.
That's a problem.
And not a whole lot older than your daughter.
Well, my daughter's getting older every year, so that's becoming less of an issue.
All right. I'll keep that in mind.
During the audition process, I think that should be a questionnaire on the fill-in sheet.
Well, I think the problem...
Are you single? Would you be willing to date Tim?
Yeah, I think we need to have a photo...
At least I should get some say in the casting from here on
I
out.
think we need to have a semi-nude photo of you.
I don't know that that's
because
necessary.
Here's the thing is, if I cast a bunch of eligible ladies and they're not willing to consider you, then that
disqualifies them from the role.
Right. We don't have very large audition pools.
No, that's true. At least you did have several very attractive backstage staff, and that was okay.
All right, so backstage staff needs a little questionnaire as well.
Sure, yeah. Although I was very pleased with this staff that we had this time. They were very nice.
That's right. I think you had some options backstage.
No, I don't know.
Well,
I was never backstage, Phil. You killed that, too.
You had time between shows to build up repertoire and play whatever charm you had.
That's very little.
I know. Well,
very limited.
That's not on me. That's on you.
Oh, fine.
I think this is an episode.
I think that was an episode. So thank you for listening to us, the two men of the Two Men podcast.
If you didn't see the show, sorry for boring you.
Sorry for boring you to tears, but those of you who have seen the show, maybe this will give you a little extra understanding.
We should tell them secret Sherlock information.
Secret Sherlock information?
So that maybe we can get more hits on this show.
Don't watch season 4 because season 4 is garbage.
Is it? I haven't watched it yet.
Don't watch it.
Is it garbage?
It's garbage.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's it.
That's all.
That's all we got.
That's like an hour show.
And so, from me, Tim.
And for me, Phil.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Welcome to another issue of Instant Opinion, your favorite audio magazine.
Oh, yes. Now we're a magazine.
We're a magazine.
We're highfalutin.
We are indeed. Okay. We're going to come up with 10 words or phrases, and Phil has to give me his instant opinion in 15 seconds or less. Are you ready, Phil?
I'm ready.
Long underwear.
Long underwear. I'm pro long underwear because it's fashionable. They're skin tight, which is great. I'm opposed to them because they take longer to get out of as compared to boxers. That's my experience.
They do have that easy access panel, though.
For the back.
Pillow talk.
Pillow talk. That should be a requirement in high school and college. I think because no one is really trained for pillow talk. I don't think there's a certification for pillow talk. I don't think that it's adequately discussed in society. I'm pro it as a necessity. I'm con it from a practical time standpoint.
But they should at least offer an associate degree in pillow talk.
Yeah, community college, definitely.
They could use that.
Pillow talk. Yeah.
William Shakespeare.
William Shakespeare. You know what? As far as that whole fame thing, he's done pretty well for a dead guy. So I'm pro him. If he'd written in, just a little bit more understandy-y way, that would be nice. I'm con him because everybody's like, oh, he's the greatest. And I just think he's a little full of himself.
You think he's overrated?
Slightly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Knight Rider.
Knight Rider. What a wonderful show about a talking car and his beach traveling companion. I imagine he was quite popular with the ladies. I'm pro it. Anything that gets William Daniels work, I'm pro. I'm con it because it really was just a show about cars, and I hate car shows.
You don't like car shows?
No.
Really?
No. I don't like Transformers.
I was going to say no Transformers then?
Transformers bore me.
Okay.
Have you watched all the Transformer movies?
BJ and the Bear.
BJ and the Bear. Greatest reason to watch BJ and the Bear was one of the ladies, the Landrys.
The Landers sisters.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is it. Otherwise, and the bear.
The bear, yeah, to be fair.
But who is the pretty boy in that?
Greg Evigan.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, he's a good-looking guy.
It's amazing that I could remember his name after all these time.
Wasn't he on My Two Dads?
Was he?
Was that Greg Evigan and the other comedian guy that eventually starred with the
Paul Reiser?
Yeah.
I think
Wasn't
you're
that
right.
My Two Dads?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I never watched that show.
I'll bet you didn't.
Wasn't my cup of tea.
Donald Trump's hair.
Donald Trump's hair. I think that I'm pro it in that I think that people should have hair, generally speaking. I'm con it in the sense that I believe that it is neither a successful toupee or comb over, whatever it is. It's not succeeding on either front.
Right. Left-handed desks.
Left-handed desks. I find them confusing and perplexing, although I shouldn't. I didn't know there was such a thing. But I'm pro them. I mean, left-handed people have rights too. So, but I'm against them because we don't have the money. We don't have the money to patronize all of these left-handed people.
You never sat in a left-handed desk in school?
Well, you mean like the kind... Oh, well, yeah.
I mean, a desk for left-handers.
Yeah, I guess I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were infuriating.
That was a very subtle joke. The left-handed people have rights. It was very impressive.
Well, did it? Was it an upgrade from the a redemption from the other joke that I did that was horrible?
You'd have to figure out which one that was.
I think it was in this podcast.
Okay. Strip poker.
Strip poker. I aspired to play that in high school. Didn't we all? Did you not aspire?
Didn't we all? Yeah.
I had several fantasies, might be the right word.
That's a little strong, maybe.
Where the cards played out just right.
Oh, yeah, just perfect.
Yeah, but in general, I'm against it because it's gambling, which is a sin, and it's nakedness, which is, I think, also is a sin.
Nakedness is not a sin.
It's a temptation, potentially, or an offense to God.
Now, granted, I'll grant you, some people naked is offensive.
Yes.
From an artistic point of view.
Well, it's a statement, though.
It is a statement.
They're being creative.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Last one.
Mm-hmm.
Ellie Mae from the Beverly Hillbillies.
Love her animals. Have nothing. Love her billiard table, swimming hole. What was the swimming hole?
What
was
billiard table, swimming hole?
What was the place they swam?
A pool.
Yeah, but it had a name. It was like the swimming pond or the
concrete pond.
The concrete pond.
Isn't that what they called it?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Doesn't
matter.
Lovely lady.
Anything that got her into a bikini was fine.
I'm in favor of. She's now passed.
Has she really?
Oh yeah, she's
That's
gone.
A sad day.
Yes.
R.I.P. Ellie Mae. Whoever.
We'll love you, and as long as Tina Louise, and Don Wells are still with us.
Yeah,
we're all right. When Farrah died, that was like the beginning.
That was a real blow.
That was a real blow.
That was a
yes.
definite blow.
Did
you have the poster, the famous red swimsuit
Of
poster?
course I did. Well, no, that's not true. I wasn't allowed. But I saw it. I wasn't allowed. I was a pastor's kid. You can't have nipples in a
You can't have nipples. Did they confiscate yours?
There are no people. You're not allowed to obviously tell people that you're attracted to people with bodies. You can't do that in a pastor's child. Only with in the confines of marriage, hidden deep in undercover.
You can only have nipples under the confines of marriage.
Under the covenant of marriage.
Under the covenant of marriage, you can have nipples.
That's right, but otherwise you're not supposed to know it.
Good to know. And that's been Instant Opinion with me, Tim.
And me, Phil.
Bye.
Bye.
Greetings. I am Alice, highly paid digital assistant to the two moderately entertaining nerds of the Two Men podcast. Want to let us know what you thought of the show? Have a topic you'd like to hear discussed? Feel like demanding your money back? We'd love to hear from you on 2 out of those 3 questions. Drop us an email at twomencast@gmail.com. In the meantime, please rate us and leave a review on iTunes or your podcast service of choice. Also, for all discussions moderately entertaining, you can find us at facebook.com/2mencast. Please join us again next week when we'll be guaranteed to be funny. Or not.